have a really fun project for you today, especially those of you who have been asking me to create some type of a wire working project. And so this is a great, could be an intro project, could be just building onto your wire working skills. But it's a fairly easy one. It's doable even by somebody who is wire wrapping a stone for the very first time. So it's not a stone per se. It is actually a beautiful carved leaf. And we know it's a vintage leaf. It is carved out of pink lip shell. And can you guys see that gorgeous carving? I just love both the beauty of the shell and the carving. It is lovely. It is very feminine and it almost glows. And of course, each one is going to be just a little bit unique. Now, with this one, we know these are vintage leaves that are carved. We think they were made in occupied Japan. However, we can't actually say that definitively. Some components that we have purchased from that were made in occupied Japan were marked with a little sticker. This we cannot tell for sure, so it is just a supposition, but nevertheless, it does not take away from the beauty of the component. And we are going to be making the silver one today, although I have both the silver and the gold version of the project.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda, and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Karen says, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Karen.
Fonda says, this is so pretty.
Oh, thank you so much, Fonda.
Julie says, hi, Irina.
Hi, Julie. It was so nice to hang out with you in class.
Pammy J says, good evening, Irina, Tony, and everyone.
Hi, Pammy J.
Angela says, good evening.
Hi, Angela.
Ellen says, hi, Irina, and everyone.
And hello, Ellen. Well, I'm so glad you ladies are joining me this beautiful evening. And it is beautiful. I know you thought I wasn't going to talk about the weather, but I can't. I can't help myself, you guys. It is so beautiful where we are today. It was like the perfect beach day, but we did not go to the beach. But that's okay, because guess what? We're working on a really fun project.
Althea says, hello.
Hi, Althea.
Trudy says, hi, everyone.
And hi, Trudy. I'm hoping you guys are having a wonderful day. And I think we're just about ready to get started. So let's go for it. We are going to be working with 24 gauge wire for this project. And if you happen to order a kit, you will notice that when you open your kit, you will have a large coil of wire and then just a little wire that is only 6 inches. And the large coil is going to be 40 inches. So this is something that you definitely want to remember. That although, you know, you almost can't really help but use the large coil for the main wire wrapping here. And then we're going to save our little 6-inch piece for a little tiny accent on the side. This little single bead just brings a little asymmetry to the project. And I'm a big fan of just a single little bead on the side. It's just, it draws your eye and it's really fun. It's one of those really great elements of modern jewelry. And the 40-inch coil, you do not need the entire 40 inches. However, for those of you who are doing this for the first time ever, I'm thinking that if you're working on it and maybe it doesn't quite turn out, I want you to have a second chance. So you can use the first 20 inches kind of experimentally, and if you love it, great. Then you don't need to go any further than that. However, as you're wrapping, if you feel like, oh, I wish I would have done this differently, no worries. You still have another 20 inches, and you can use that 20 inches to make your piece for realsies.
Sharon says, hi, Irina, Tony, and all.
Hi, Sharon, and thanks for joining us.
Fonda says, it is a gorgeous day today.
Oh, it is, Fonda. It was so beautiful. I enjoyed my walks today so much. So far, I had 2 of them.
Ellen says, beautiful piece.
Thank you so much, Ellen. Okay, ladies, so a bit more about the wire. So again, when you take out your 40-inch length of wire, it is going to be 24 gauge. And it is equivalent to dead soft. It is, I always talk about the 2 brands that I really like. So for the main piece right here, we are using 22 gauge artistic wire. And when we get to our little accent bead for that, we're going to be using the half hard, which is the Beadsmith brand. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, so what we're going to do as the very first step is cut 2 10-inch segments from the 40-inch coil, and that leaves us with another 20 inches so that if you need to have a second try, you have it. Okay, so now we are going to line up our 2 segments of wire, and we are going to, and you can measure it. Remember, it's 10 inches, easy to measure. I'm going to move some of these so we have a little more room. And so we're going to find the center, and then we're going to start just a little bit off center.
Jolene says, hello.
Hi, Jolene. It's so nice to hear from you. So we are going to start just a little bit off center. And what that means, you know what, in fact, maybe I can find my ruler. It should be around here. You know, oh, yes, I did find it. Yay, good times. So we are going to start just a little bit off center, which means we're starting at about 4.5 inches. So we're just going to measure out, and you know, when I just design jewelry and I'm doing this by myself, I pretty much wing everything, but I want you to have kind of a realistic measurement here. So it is 4.5 inches from one end. And what we're going to do at 4.5 inches is just cross our wires like this, like a little X, and twist. So this is not one wire going around the other, but a twist, like, you know, like when you have a bag with bread or a trash bag. So it's a twisty like that. And if you're having a difficult time making this tight enough so that it holds nicely, what we'll do is we will hold our twist at one end with our chain nose pliers, and then we will use our flat nose pliers to tighten the twist. So all we're going to do is probably just do this one time, and this is going in the direction of the twist. So make sure you do not over twist this little twisty part, because if you do, it's very easy to break your wire. So all we're trying to do is get it to hold, and that's all. And this is what we have so far.
Vanessa says, hi, Irina and Tony and everyone.
Hi, Vanessa. I'm glad you joined us today. Okay, ladies, and so now that we have our little twist and it's holding nicely, we are going to wrap the long ends of the wire, something like this, around our leaf, about 2/3 down. So you can see how I'm about 2/3 down on the leaf. You know, just for fun, let's measure the leaf. So the leaf is just a hair under, well, actually it's 1 3/4 inches. Okay, that's pretty exact. And we are going to start right about here. So let me give you a little idea. So I'm about actually not quite 2/3, although you could be, you know, it's not really imperative that you use exact measurements as I'm doing, but I'm about 1/2 inch up from the point of this leaf. And what I'm going to do is crisscross my wires and make another. I don't actually need to have my leaf in there at this point. I am going to, again, hold with my chain nose pliers and just make a little tiny twist. Okay, so it looks like this. And I want to get this to hold. So just get it to hold however you can, whether you're using your chain nose pliers and your flat nose pliers or just use your fingers. And so this is what I ended up with. In the center of the wire, I ended up with something that looks like a little pocket. And so this is where this little pocket is going to land. And let's say you want to, so this actually ended up being just a little bit taller than my initial intention. When I say taller, it's a little bit further up on the leaf. So if I wanted to, I could actually make this little pocket a little bit smaller, which is what I'm going to do so that you know how to do it as well. So I can always make it smaller by holding on to the wire with my chain nose pliers, and then I am going to use my flat nose pliers, and you see how I'm holding with the chain nose across the pocket, and then with the flat nose I'm straddling the wire, and I can just go in the same direction as the initial twist, and I just made the little pocket that much smaller. So let's see where it fits on the leaf.
Patricia says, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Patricia, and good evening to you, my friend. So this is what it looks like. So it looks pretty good. I think I'm just going to stick with that. And if you need to tighten it even further, you can do that. You can make as many twists as you need. Just, again, be sure to not over twist it. So now we are going to redirect this pocket. So right now it's kind of long and we're going to make it wide instead of long. So all I'm going to do is just kind of stretch it out like this with my fingers and give it a little squeeze so that the two little twists line up. So you can see how they're, I mean, it's a little wonky right now, but we're not too concerned about that. So you see how the twists are at this point in a line. That's exactly what we want. And now if we put our leaf inside here, look what happens. You are going to start seeing exactly where we're going with this. So you can see how this is, and you know, we could, I'm just noticing that, oh, sorry, that the V on my sample is just a little bit more dramatic. And if we wanted to, we could place the wire in the tooth of the leaf like this. And right now everything is just kind of all loosey-goosey. And I'm holding onto it with my hands while I am bending the wire upwards on both sides, okay? And we can see that V. So we can place the wire a little higher on the leaf or a little lower on the leaf, whatever makes you happy. So now we have some beads that we can embellish our leaf with. Oh, actually, you know what? I just realized, well, you know what? It's okay. Variety is the spice of life. I just realized that I actually have the beads from the gold sample while I have everything else from the silver sample. That's okay. It all works the same. So I think I'm just going to go with the flow and keep going with the beads from the gold sample. But please know, if you get the gold kit, this is what your kit is going to look like. And if you get the silver kit, this is what your kit is going to look like. Very easy.
Jolene is wondering what the material the leaf is made out of.
Oh, thank you so much, Jolene, for asking. I know I kind of talked about how it's a vintage component, but I didn't say, or maybe I did say, it's the pink lip shell. So it's a natural shell. I don't quite know where it comes from, but we think that the finished pieces come from occupied Japan, making the piece vintage. So it is shell, and it's very, very beautiful. You can see how incredibly iridescent it is. It picks up mauve and peach and a little bit, some pieces have a little bit of a rainbow. It's just a very, very beautiful shell.
Karen says, I like the darker beads with the silver too.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen. I didn't actually mean to make it confusing, but I happened to grab this. And, you know, as I said, we'll just go with the flow. But please know that this is going to be your kit in silver, and this is going to be your kit in gold.
And sorry, some of these comments come in much later than they probably were posted. Allie says, hi, everyone. Pretty leaf. Is it mother of pearl?
Hi, Allie. Yes, it is mother of pearl, although I think pretty much every shell, the inside of the shell, is considered mother of pearl. The specific shell is pink lip.
Katie S. says, good evening, all.
Hi, Katie, and I'm so glad you joined us tonight. Okay, ladies, so now that we have our initial little pocket, kind of semi-holding the leaf, and this is what it looks like on the back, and it's a little bit wonky. That's okay. We'll fix it all in just a little bit. And this is what it looks like on the front. So we're going to start embellishing right about now. And I'm going to embellish it in a very similar way to what you see in my samples. However, there's no reason that you cannot mix it up and start with crystals. You know what? My leaf just fell out. No worries. I'm not too worried about it, and you shouldn't worry about it either. So I'm going to start with a large pearl and a smaller pearl. Okay, and this is what it looks like. So we have a big pearl and a little pearl. And that's really all we're going to do as far as embellishing on the front of our piece right now. Now, I will caution you, you're going to very badly want to put more beads on here, but please don't. Resist that need to put more beads on the wire, because we actually want some good negative space on our two front wires so that we can go under them, in between them, and we can just add more embellishment later. Okay, so now I am putting my leaf back into this, I don't know, what should we call it? I guess a cage, you know, we're building a cage of sorts. And so once you have your two initial beads, we are going to start working on our bale. This project goes very, very quickly. And this is a very similar wrap to the one I use for hearts. It's a good wrap really for any stone that has a little dip at the top of the stone. So pretty much it kind of limits us to leaves and hearts. And this is what I did. I bent the 2 wires, although I think I want them this way. So the 2 wires that were on the back, I bent toward the front. And so here, let me show you what it looks like right now. So the 2 wires from the back go towards the front, and the 2 wires on the front at this point are not quite doing anything, but they're about to do something. They're about to become the bale. So the bale, of course, is this loop at the top of our pendant. And I'm going to do a little twisting just at the top of the leaf using the 2 wires that are going upwards. And again, if you need to tighten your wire a little bit using the flat nose pliers, you can do that. But please know that if you are tightening your wire, you always need to hold on with your chain nose pliers like this. And then, let me just show you. So if we need to tighten a little bit, again, we're going to straddle with our flat nose pliers, give it a little twist, and that's it, just very little. And every time we do this, we're going to move up. Did you see? I just moved up like this with my chain nose pliers, and then I'm going to do a little more twisting. So you're always moving your chain nose pliers and doing a little tightening, and then you can move your chain nose pliers again. But if your chain nose pliers are here and you keep going and keep twisting, it's very likely that you're going to break this little twisted wire.
In regards to where you put the beads on initially, Allie says maybe calling it the basket.
The basket, I love it. In fact, you know what? I've called it the basket in the past and then I forgot.
And Carmen says, hi, Irina, Tony, and everyone.
Hi, Carmen. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, ladies, so this little twist, it's going to become our bale. And depending on just how long you want your bale to be, you can make a longer twist, you can make a shorter twist. So my twist is going to be right around 3/4 of an inch, and I'm pretty much there. So in the meantime, my basket, and thank you, Allie, for that, my basket is still, look at how loose it is, because nothing is really wire wrapped into place. So we're about to do just that. So the 2 wires that are towards the front, that are coming from the back, we are just going to take one and go around, and it comes, so I went all the way around and I brought it back out towards the front, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to go all the way around 300 degrees and bring it out towards the front again. Okay, so now this is pretty much wrapped in place. It is not going anywhere at this point. So I can shake it, I can flip it upside down or do whatever, and the sleeve is not going to fall out. So it's really in there. So now we just have to figure out what happens with these 2 wires. How do we get from this little twist to having an actual bale? And we're going to start, I think we're going to start with the bale, although we could do a little bit of embellishing and then come back to the bale. So there's really no wrong order here. So maybe,
you know what, maybe I'll just do a little bit of embellishment and then come back to the veil, you know, because embellishing is really exciting. And what I'll do is I will separate these beads first, because I want one a little bit up and the other a little bit down. And in order to keep them from moving, I'm going to use my chain nose pliers and make a little tiny bend, or if you've taken my classes, a lightning bolt. Okay, so I call these little tiny bends, lightning bolts. And so just bending the wire that little is going to hold it in place really nicely. I didn't actually do that on my 2 samples, but because I started a little bit lower, I have a little more room in between the beads, so that's kind of nice. And now I'm going to decide the direction of my first wire right here, and this is going to be definitely one of the embellishing wire ends. And so I'm pushing it underneath. And you know, you pretty much, when you do this type of a wrap, you just kind of make it up as you go. So I feel like I really want something fun and sparkly right here on this side. And I'm going to pick up one of my sparkly little Swarovski beads. And yes, I'm still using Swarovski. I still have a pretty nice stash. So we'll still be seeing some projects with Swarovski crystals. And so you see how I pushed the wire underneath. I picked up a bead, and now I am going to weave, and maybe I'll just curve it up a little bit this way so it's easy to weave it through. And so I will weave it in between these 2 wires. I think I will grab the "and" with my chain nose pliers, just because it gives me a little leverage. And we're going to place this. Okay, so it kinked a little bit, which means we have to straighten it out a little because I don't want that sharp kink in there. And we're going to, okay, this I think I like that little bit of a curve. So I have a nice little curve, and maybe I will go in the opposite direction and end up going right around that little twist, that very first, or actually no, this was our second twist. So I think I'm going to go around the twist. So again, I'm just pulling the wire out with my chain nose pliers, and we have a nice little curve in the wire, like an S curve, and we're going to fill some of that in yet. But in the meantime, I think I'm really happy with where this wire ended up. So just so that I don't have all these different wire ends sticking out, I am going to end this wire right now, and I'm going to end it by making a little spiral. And this is going to be a teeny little spiral, which I find that this is a really fun little accent for this type of a project. So I start by making a very tiny loop, and where the wire becomes straight, we are just going to cut it off. I'm trying to get into that little loop, and I tell you, it's a small loop, so it's hard. So I'm going to open up the loop just a tiny bit, and this way it's going to be a little easier for me to get in there and cut off the excess wire. And then I'm going to use my chain nose to make that little loop even smaller. So you see how it's very tiny, and literally I just close the opening in the loop because it doesn't have to be a functional loop. We're not going to connect anything to the loop. So I didn't close it entirely, but I really minimized it. And you can see how I'm using the chain nose pliers to start my spiral. And once it becomes a little larger, it just becomes easier to use my flat nose pliers. So I just changed my tools. I switched to my flat nose pliers, and here is our spiral. And once you finish your spiral, just use the side of your flat nose pliers to just kind of push it down and flatten it against the mother of pearl leaf. Okay, so we have just used one of our wire ends. Well, let's do some more. I think let's do some more embellishing. And I think I'm going to set this little pearl aside just so that I don't accidentally use it, because I am saving it for that one single accent in our chain. So I think what I would like to do with this wire segment is maybe push it underneath the wire, and then I'm going to start embellishing with it. So I would like to make a very important point actually. You can see how I am constantly taking this wire and putting it underneath another wire and just kind of weaving it through. And that is because we're working with 24 gauge wire. It is dead soft wire, so it's not going to hold its shape very well unless we actually continue to anchor it on something else. And so by weaving it through, you're making sure that it does not get unbent, it doesn't keep bending back and forth and eventually break. And of course, we're making sure that it's holding its shape, and that's great. Okay, so now I'm going to, again, I'm just deciding what am I putting on this wire length. First, I'm going to shape it. I think I like this shape. So it's sort of shadowing, you can see it's sort of shadowing my first wire, but then it doesn't have to shadow it completely. So it's, you can see at the top, I just kind of made it follow the first embellishing wire. And now we're going to pick up maybe one of these little silver 3mm Swarovski beads. And we're going to place it right there, just adding a little sparkle. And yes, you probably guessed it, we are going to have to go underneath the wire and just weave it through. And you know, when you ladies do this, it's not going to be exactly the same pattern. I am just showing you the strategy. This is not a pattern. It's not like you absolutely must have the same exact wire path. I mean, honestly, I could not even duplicate my own exactly, not very easily. I suppose if I really had to, I could, but there's no point in that. Okay, so I added a little Swarovski bicone, and maybe, I don't know, maybe this one doesn't need anything else. And let's see, what did I do here? So I really am a fan of having a little spiral covering up that twist, and it just adds a little something, and I usually try to do that with most of these. And on this one, I have a little dangle. So you can have a little dangle or you can skip the dangle. So it all depends. If you want the dangle, you build in a little loop, which I didn't do on this one, but I'm sure you guys can build in a little loop, and then you can have a little dangle. Okay, so I'm not planning on the dangle on this sample, so I'm going to keep going. So now I'm literally thinking right now, what is happening with the rest of this wire? Am I going to need it for embellishment or should I end it? And I'm thinking that I'm going to end this wire. So now you're probably looking at all the little crystals in front of me and thinking, wait, are we using those? And yes, we are. We are going to have more opportunities to embellish. But should you decide to end this wire, and you know, on this one, I actually went around, you can see how I kind of spiraled around one of the wires from the V, the upside down V, and then I ended the wire right here. And this is just a different way to add a little accent. This time I'm just going to cut the wire, leaving maybe 2 millimeters at the end. And the 2 millimeters are going to be just enough to tuck in towards the leaf. So all of your wire ends, should you have wire ends that are getting tucked in, they should always get tucked in toward the stone, or in this case, the shell, so that we are not getting poked by wire. It's not fun at all. Okay, so now we are at the point where we really need to finish our bail. So it's very simple, you guys. If you have made a wrap loop, it's like exactly like that. You know how when you make a wrap loop, first you're going to bend your wire to a 90-degree angle. And that is what I just did. So here is my 90-degree angle. And now we're going to make something that looks almost exactly like a wrap loop. So I'm going to use my round nose pliers and simply bend the wire in the opposite direction of that 90-degree angle. And at the same time, I am going to bring my 2 wire ends towards the front. So you can see the loop already. I have not yet wrapped it, but I'm about to do just that. So the wire ends at this point are straddling the front of the loop. And before, actually, you know what? We don't actually want to bring the wire ends toward the front just yet, because we are going to connect the bail to the chain right now. We do have, should you forget to do this, you do have an extra jump ring. However, I kind of like the look without the jump ring. So here's the chain we're using. I really do love this chain. It is kind of a very slender, I don't know if it's considered a Rollo, but it's a slender Rollo-like chain. And what I love about this is, well, first of all, I just like the look of it. And secondly, it's large enough and open enough to act as an extender. And so the way I'm going to do this is I'm not necessarily looking for the center. I am making this so that the extender is built in. So when I pick that loop that our bail is going to go into, it's actually leaving about 2 inches for an extender chain on one side, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to find my loop that I am going to connect to, and I'm going to string both of the wires from our bail through the link in the chain. So this is our link that I'm connecting to, And now I am ready to make this permanent. So I'm bringing both ends that are coming out of the loop toward the front. And again, we are going to go 300 degrees all the way around. Did I say 300 degrees? I meant 360 degrees. So we're going to go all the way around the bale. And actually, if you feel like going around more than just the one time, you can. If you want to build up a little bit of that kind of an organic, messy loop. So I'll do that one more time, I think. So this is what it looks like. Or if you want to keep it a little cleaner, you can do that as well.
Allie says, very pretty chain. Is that sold separately in the store?
Yes, it is, Allie. I love this chain. I'm so glad you like this also. Yeah, this is definitely one of my go-to chains. In fact, let me give you a little preview. This is our project for next week, and guess what? I'm using this very same chain like this as a little extender. So you can use it just as an extender, or you can use it for the entire body of the chain, whatever makes you happy. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And so now that we have made our bale, we have 2 more wire ends yet. And guess what we're going to do with these? More of the same, of course.
Allie says, oh yay, love the furnace glass.
Oh yay, I'm so glad. And Fonda, I know you're watching, so because you said hi earlier. And it's actually you who said, hey, let's do this as a kit. Because, you know, I made this bracelet last week because I was showing the furnace glass in the Friday video, which, by the way, we now have in the store. And Fonda was like, hey, that could be a fun kit. And I thought, yeah, it could. So here it is, Fonda.
Sharon is wondering, is the chain sterling?
Thank you for asking, Sharon. No, it's not sterling. Unfortunately, sterling chain is so very expensive right now. Metals are very much up right now. And so I have not been using a lot of sterling findings because I'm really trying to keep the cost of kits very affordable. However, I will say that I do love the quality of our base metal findings.
Katie S. says, I'm happy to see the furnace glass project.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Katie.
Allie says, it's like your necklace kit from a few years back.
You're absolutely right. I have had a similar kit, and I really do enjoy working with furnace glass, I have to tell you. Okay, ladies, so in the meantime, while we're chatting, I've been adding beads here, and here's another sparkly little silver bead. And maybe, again, you know, I'm just doing this very organically. I'm making it up as I go, and, you know, I will look and see, do I like this? If I don't, I might just maybe take this bead off, put something else on. But I do happen to like this bead placement, so I think I'm going to stick with that. And so we're going to push this little wire end underneath that wire coming off the V. And maybe, actually, you know what? I feel kind of inspired to spiral around the V at this point.
Fonda says, very cute with the furnace glass.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I have to tell you, I actually might do another furnace glass project. I got so excited about our furnace glass. And so I'm kind of pondering, and you know, I haven't decided yet for sure, but I might just do a furnace glass necklace. That might be really fun. And if I do it, I might do it so that it's strung rather than wire wrapped. So in the meantime, I am going to cut off this little wire end. We don't need it anymore. And you can see I left a little tail, little teeny tiny tail. Can you guys see that? And so now we're going to just kind of push and pull, do a little pushing, do a little pulling, and tuck in that little and again so that it's going around the wire and pointing towards the leaf.
Althea says, I love everything.
Oh, thank you so much, Althea. You're awesome. Oh, but you know what? I know I was going, normally I do announcements at the very, very end, but something else you guys are going to love if you have not already found our sale in the Etsy shop. You guys are going to love it. Please check it out. It's 40, well, you know what? I'll save it. I'll talk about the sale at the very, very end. I just got a little excited. And so in the meantime, I still have one little wire end. So what should we do with this? So I have 3 bicones left. And one of the bicones is going to be in the back of the necklace as a little bauble. So I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to decide whether I'm using the remaining 2. So I feel like this is a fun little space to fill, and we can just put this right on the leaf. This is one of those opalescent Swarovski bicones. Can you guys see that? So I feel like it wants to be right there, just nestled in between the 2 silver bicones. So let's put this right there. And yeah, I think I'm really liking this. And now I'm going to push my wire underneath another wire, just pretty much whatever I can find. Or you can be a little more strategic if you have a specific one. But I think this is going to work out if I just pretty much just push it underneath wherever it wants to go. And so now, and you can see how differently this is turning out. This is a bit more open, and I'm really liking how it's turning out. So now I have to decide, what are we going to do with this end? So, you know, we have one more bead, but I don't think I'm feeling this one in this spot. I don't know, it makes it look a little square. So I think I'm just going to leave that off. We don't have to use all of them if we don't want to. And by the same token, if you have something that you feel would really improve it, why not add it? Or maybe you want to add a little color and make it your own. So what I'm going to do at this point is simply find a good spot for this wire and then end it. So I think in order to anchor it, I'm going to go underneath that little twist at the top of the V, or at the bottom of the V, I guess, depends which way you're looking at it. And you know what, actually, I might just end it right here. Although I was just for a second, I was considering making another spiral, but I think I would rather frame this bead right here. Wouldn't that look nice? So I think I'm going to frame that bead, and you know, you can really play with the wire. And I am telling you, every time I do this, it just works out differently, you know. 5 minutes from now, you're not even the same person, right? You are a whole different person, kind of. And so you design differently. You know, I'm having a difficult time grabbing it, so sometimes it helps to use the flat nose pliers, and I'm going to do that. And yeah, I think I like how this is being framed. I might just push this wire up a little bit. Isn't that fun? And so now I think I'm ready to Or maybe, you know what, I think it would benefit from a tiny, tiny little spiral. So let's just make one. Who says we can only make one spiral per pendant, right? We can make as many as we want. So normally I would cut it off. However, I don't have a whole lot of wire left on this one, so I'm not going to cut it off. I'm just going to make the best of it. And the purpose of cutting off the very end, of course, is so that you have a perfectly round spiral. Well, you know what? This one is going to be not perfectly round, but I still like it. And so there's my teeny, teeny little spiral, very tiny. And now that I'm done with it, again, I'm just going to use my flat nose pliers and flatten it against the rest of the wire, and that's it. So that is how you wire wrap the pendant. And I think we can probably add a couple of finishing touches. So let's look at what's happening on the back of the pendant. And it's a little wonky, and you know, we could probably do better. So let's use our flat nose pliers, and first thing I'm going to do is just center the twist. Already that is just so much better. And then I'm just going to use my fingers and spread this wire a little bit, or maybe I'll use my flat nose pliers and just kind of pull it in one direction. Oops, okay, don't do that. I think I just scratched it a little bit, but good thing it's on the back. So what we take away from this is don't be forceful. And then if we're going to make a couple of lightning bolts, it's going to be on the back, not on the front. And again, that is so that should you happen to scratch something, I'd rather scratch it on the back, not on the front. But in order to avoid scratching our stone, we're always going to hold our chain nose at a very low angle. So you see how I'm holding it at a low angle, and I am not going to scratch anything when I do that.
Allie says, so pretty, and it matches your shirt.
Oh, yay! Thank you so much, Allie. And so now I'm going to do the same exact thing right here at the V. And what this does is not only does it make everything look so much better, but it also makes it fit like a glove because I have just taken up all of the slack. So this looks much better than before. Also, we could just maybe push this toward the center, and now this little coil is center, or not coil, but twist. The twist is centered now, and I would consider this finished, right? So the pendant is now finished, and now we're going to add a little accent in the form of this lovely little pearl. And what I'm going to do is, and actually, you know, this is something I do on a regular basis. So this is a necklace that I wear quite often, and you can see I have a little moonstone bead right there on the side, and it just gives it a little, you know, interest, something else to look at other than just the focal point. So I very often do something like this where I add a little accent on the side, and it's entirely up to you where you want to add it. You can go an inch up from the pendant. You can go 2-3 inches up from the pendant. Really, it's entirely up to you. I think I'll go about 2 inches up from the pendant, and just cut through one of the links, and you can put it on the right or on the left. It doesn't matter. It's whatever your preference is. And then, very importantly, remember we have this other segment of wire, and this again is enough for a couple of tries. So you're not going to use all of this. So this is the same gauge wire, but it is not the same brand of wire, because when we make a little loop like this, what we always want is we want the loop to hold really nicely, both loops. We want them to hold really well so that every time you wear the piece, they're not bending back and forth, because that is how we're going to break our piece. And so this is Beadsmith wire brand, and I'm making a 90-degree angle like we normally do when we make a loop. And now I'm switching to my round nose pliers and making the loop. So this is what it looks like. And we're going to put the chain into the loop, the last link that we're trying to connect. We put that right in the loop, and we're going to just wrap one side of the loop. And these, you know, I'm not making these organically wrapped loops. These are just very simply wrapped loops. And I just made 2 coils around the working wire and cut off the excess. And of course, we always want to flatten that little tail. Now I'm stringing the bead onto my wire. And we are going to make another 90-degree angle on the other side, leaving just a little tiny bit of space. And, you know, this is just going to be large enough to fit 2 coils. That's literally all we need. And make another 90-degree angle. Now we're going to make our second loop, and I'm trying to I should have grabbed my bail making pliers, and then I would not have to worry about the size of the loop. But I think we can work with this. So this is close enough. So this is what it looks like. And we're going to string that last link of our chain right into the loop. And holding with our chain nose pliers, we are going to make 2 coils right into that little space we left for our 2 coils. And now I think we're ready to trim any excess wire. And always tuck in that little tiny end. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so now we have to attach our lobster claw, and of course we will be adding our little bauble to the back of our chain. And this is a jump ring. I always use a chain nose and a flat nose to open my jump rings. And I always hold them like this at a 90-degree angle. It makes it very, very easy. And as I open it, I push the 2 sides of the jump ring ever so slightly closer. And now we are going to string our lobster clasp into the jump ring, re-grip the jump ring, and because I pushed the 2 sides of the jump ring a little bit closer, you can see how the 2 sides are just ever so slightly overlapped. So if I give them a little squeeze like this, you heard that very loud click, and that lets us know that we have absolutely no room between the 2 sides, so we're not going to lose our piece. So that's one end of our necklace, And we still have the remaining end. And I don't know if it's obvious, but I always put my clasp on my right side because I'm a righty. But if you are a lefty, make sure that the clasp is on your left side. Oh, and by the way, I have my 4mm Swarovski bicone on the ball pin already. And now we're going to make a wrapped loop. So we're always going to start it by bending the wire to a 90-degree angle, leaving a little bit of space for the coiling, and then we make the loop. So yes, so going back to, you know, we're all different. Some of us are right-handed and some of us are left-handed. So if you happen to be a lefty, make sure you make it really comfortable for yourself to put your necklace on. And you always attach, if there are two sides, because some necklaces, it doesn't matter whether you wear it one side toward the front or the other, but some necklaces like this have a very distinct front and back. So make sure that the clasp is always on the side. That makes it easier for you. And now we're just going to coil around our ball pin.
Katie S. says, fun project.
Thank you so much, Katie. And snip off the excess wire, tuck it in, and that's it. It is ready to wear. Ta-da! This is what we just made. This one is kind of a hybrid because these two had a baby. And look, this is what it looks like. So the beads are actually from the gold one, and of course everything else is from the silver. And both of these are already in the Etsy shop in the featured on Facebook section. So we're going to do a little cleanup here, all the little wires, and I'm going to put all of these right here. And now I'm going to give you a little preview of what is happening tomorrow and on Thursday and also this entire week. Okay, ladies, so tomorrow for my shopping event, you know, my Friday morning shopping event, I have some incredibly exciting beads for you. Oh my gosh, I love these so much. I mean, you know, all of us have been just a little bit obsessed with these copper-edged beads, and this is what we have for tomorrow's video, the marketplace, as I like to call it. And somebody, I don't remember who anymore, but you guys asked for the turquoise and spiny rondelles back, and these you've seen, but they seem to be one of the favorites, and so I'm bringing them back tomorrow. These are very exciting, and guess what? For the first time ever, I have the turquoise and spiny rounds. These are incredibly exciting. I mean, just imagine just a single bead on an earring, maybe with a little dainty cap or just even a little spacer, and that's really all it needs. These beads are amazing. So, and again, this is a first for the flat spiny with the copper edge, for this turquoise with the copper edge. So this is going to be a really, really exciting event.
Karen says they're gorgeous. Love this design in regards to the leaf.
Oh, thank you so much, Karen.
Althea says so attractive.
Thank you, Althea.
And Trudy says, did you say the chain is in Etsy? I don't
No,
think
the
so.
chain is not in the Etsy shop. However, we do, it actually might be. You know what? I can't say for sure.
I'm not sure.
But we do have other chain in the Etsy shop, which brings me to the next incredibly exciting thing. We are having a pretty huge sale in the Eclectica Etsy shop. And it is almost 400 items on sale, and they're 40% off. And so actually it's a little bit of a closeout sale. Don't worry, we're not closing our Etsy shop. But we are redoing quite a few things in the Etsy shop. And a lot of what we have on sale, we will actually be taking out of the Etsy shop. So on a lot of these items, this is kind of last chance, because we're actually shrinking our Etsy shop a little bit, because well, frankly, it's too many items to keep track of. And also we want to put more items in, and in order to keep track of everything, we just kind of have to decide what is staying and what is going. And a lot of it is going. So rather than just taking it out of the Etsy shop and surprise, it's not there anymore, we decided to have this really awesome sale. So I know that some of you have already found it. And for those of you who have not found it yet, please do look at it, because it is such a good deal. And unfortunately, no, we're not having an equivalent sale in the store. However, if you are a store customer, you can always order on Etsy and pick it up in the store. So the entire purpose of this sale, literally, is to just kind of clean up the Etsy shop and do some new things. So that's about it for the sale. Again, 40% off.
Sharon says, love the copper edge coins.
Oh, thank you so much, Sharon.
And Lois says, I just love the copper turquoise and the brown color. Where can I purchase? Thank you very much.
Lois, thank you so much. Please join me tomorrow on the Eclectica Facebook page. And I believe the link is...
Yes, there's an event link in the comments and also the description of the video.
Yeah, and so this is an event I do every Friday, or at least most Fridays. Every once in a blue moon, I will take a Friday off if we're on vacation, like I did for the 5th of July. But normally I am here every Thursday night on my Facebook page, and then on... I'm also here every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on the Eclectica page. So this is going to be on the Eclectica page. And I will have so many amazing things tomorrow morning. So we'll have the copper edge turquoise. We'll have the spiny oyster beads with the copper edge. We're going to have so many different fun gemstone strands. And a lot of them are like onesie twosies at a very, very good price. And I'll have some fabulous fogals and so much more. There's so many surprises I can't even remember everything. So again, 9 o'clock tomorrow, Central, I can't talk.
Central Standard Time.
Thank you, Tony. You can speak for me. Yay.
Sharon is wondering what size are the coins. The coins are a 10 millimeter.
Thank you, Tony. Yeah, and they're fabulous. I mean, just look at how awesome they are. They're kind of on the thicker side. They're incredibly consistent. They will make fantastic bracelets. They will make gorgeous earrings. Literally anything you make out of them. These are just absolutely stunning.
Sharon says, thank you.
My pleasure, Sharon. And last but not least, or maybe not even last. So this is what we're doing next Thursday. And this just kind of happened very organically. I was showing some furnace glass and happened to have made a sample. And then you guys said, hey, this would be a good project. So we are doing it as a project. And since we're making the bracelet as a project, we are also making earrings. So I decided, I'm such an earring person. If I don't have earrings on, I feel naked. If I only have one piece of jewelry on, it's earrings. And so I feel like we must have earrings. So this is our project. In fact, I'm just going to, it's all falling down. So I'm going to put it on here in front of me, even though it's getting a bit crowded, but that's okay. They'll just have to be very cozy. And so this is Furnace Fiesta bracelet and earrings. And this we're making on Thursday, next Thursday, that is July 25th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my jewelry design page, which is where you guys are right now.
Vanessa says, my wallet is in trouble tomorrow.
Oh no, Vanessa. But you know what? It's a good kind of trouble, right? It's an awesome kind of trouble.
Althea says, me too.
Yay!
Allie says, those sets are just too cute. Excited to see them constructed.
Oh, yay! Thank you so much. And then, of course, this is like a whole week from now. But, you know, I wish I would have grabbed a sample of one of our vintage stamps set in sterling silver. And their pendants. I guess you'll just have to go to our event page in order to preview them. Oh, yes, and yeah, that would be great. Actually, go to our event page. This way you can see the pendants and just a tiny little preview of the gemstone beads.
And RSVP.
And you can, yeah, exactly. You can RSVP, and hopefully, at least in theory, if you RSVP, Facebook will remind you that the event is about to happen. So it's always good to RSVP. Plus, it lets us know that you're coming, and we're looking forward to you coming. Okay, ladies, so that is about it. So next Friday, we have lots of cool surprises as well. In the meantime, this is the preview of tomorrow. So what do you think? I think we've covered a lot of territory here. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for the shopping events. There are going to be some really fun surprises, including, of course, our really awesome preview right here. And thank you so much for your comments. Thank you for your encouragement. And I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, have a wonderful and creative evening.